Hey, I've got two lists for you today on review, and this first one is from Simon. And I'm going to read a bit of what Simon wrote to me in his email to me, where he sent the list, because that will inform us about what he's looking for. So he writes, Happy New Year. Happy New Year, Simon. He has entered BHGS Roll Call 2025, which starts in April. It's a 2-day GT competition. Unusual point limits, 1310. That's very, very high. You can do a lot with 1310 points, but it has a dice cap of 24 order dice. So I am expecting we will see heavier units, chunkier units, because you have so many points to put into them. You have to choose a front, and it has to be early, mid, or late war period. So it's a thematic event with very high points. I would say that. Simon has chosen to run the second Alamein front. So Desert Brits. I love it, Simon. Love it. There's a restriction to multi-rocket launchers. Yeah, we don't want those anyway. And spotters can only spot for their own platoons. Yeah. I have nothing to add for that. So he writes here, I'm very torn regarding the type of transport options. We can settle that for you. I'd like to have option for a vehicle for the commandos and an officer to grab objectives or rush a punch unit forward. Yep. If I use a truck, it allows me to get additionally up the field. There may be a light autocannon somewhere, second spotter for howitzers, and a second man for an officer. A white scout car is more survivable, has an HMG. Which is better? The list is a mixed bag. Right. So let's go and see what it is that he's bringing, shall we? I have it somewhere, I think. Maybe. Let me just get it for you guys. Where did I put it? As always. Right. There's two versions of it. Okay, here we go. So, we have this. This is version 2, 20 order dice. I think you could go higher. Platoon commander, inexperienced. Infantry sections, Indian. Okay. Infantry sections. I like the size of these. They could be 7 men, I think. Because they're not going to push. And potentially you could even give them an LMG instead of a couple of guys and just have them sit in your back line. Then we have the commandos here. Love them. 4 submachine guns, 3 rifles. The rifles go off first as the casualties as you're moving up, and they are shooting. Perfect. Anti-tank rifles, these are really good. This version, really good. Light mortars, yeah. And that's how you boost your order dice, right? Getting those anti-tank rifles, light mortars. A white scout car. I like the white scout car here. I really do. You've got 8-man transport, and you can put in your whole unit of commandos and an officer and have it outflank. The HMG is also very useful, I think. Then we've got a rifle platoon more. Here is the LMG teams. Home Guard, South African Auxiliary Pioneer Corps. Yes, Simon, that is my boys. I haven't got them right here. They're on my painting table. I am also running these. Love them. Auxiliary Pioneers. AT rifle. Yep. And howitzer, double howitzer. I'm not sure what the howitzers are doing here. I'm sorry. This, I think, is a platoon I'd cut. I know a lot of people like the 25 pounder, but it's a long range for indirect fire. It's not that good for direct fire. It's got an AT shell, which, you know, is nice, but Then we have a Crusader with a medium AT gun here. That's too heavy for me, for my taste. Another Crusader with another heavy AT gun, medium AT gun. Humber and light tank Mark 6. I like these two cars. I really like them. I'm going to have to buy myself some of these light tanks as well. The Humber has recce, which is so damn useful. Okay, for me, I think I would cut this 4th platoon and instead maybe run a heavy platoon. Heavy weapons. I'm so in love with heavy weapons these days. That would give you access to more anti-tank rifles, it would give you access to more mortars, and it would also give you access to MMG teams. All of which can be very useful. And I think potentially I would cut one of the cruiser tanks as well. You have a lot of tanks, you have a lot of infantry. These 8-man infantry units here are not super useful as built because they can't really push and they can't really, or they're too expensive to just sit back. I think these sections with the LMGs are much more useful in version 3. The second option is running 21 order dice. Again, it's basically the same platoon. There's a few changes here. We have a truck instead of the white scout car. Again, same African Auxiliary Pioneer Corps, howitzer, and a light autocannon. For me, if you're going to run an artillery platoon, I think the light autocannons, I have mine right here, sitting on my desk, ready to go to the painting desk. I think they are so goddamn useful. They're good at locking down lanes of fire, they're good at threatening tanks, they're good at threatening infantry. Yeah, I like those. Much more than I like the more expensive howitzers. And then the same tank platoon. For me, Simon, I think I like your version 2 better. But I would still consider maybe, unless you really want to feel those 25 pounders, which you may. You may want to do that because the 25 pounder is just a lovely little model, isn't it? I have mine right behind me, sitting right here, right? It's a lovely little model. Mine is a Rubicon kit. Freaking love it. But it's not massively useful here in version 3. So for me, I would change that up. Maybe consider running something other than one of the cruiser tanks. I can understand bringing one just for that medium AT gun, but 2 is overkill, I think, potentially. You could even run an artillery observer instead of a cruiser tank, or instead of your howitzers, because he will do the same more or less. He will suppress heavy guns and infantry, and yep, that's what you want. So that's it for Simon. And then I have a list from Lucas. Now I am actually facing Lucas in a couple of days, where I'm going to NTS, and Lucas is bringing his very unusual Polish list. But this is not Polish. This is Lucas bringing Bulgaria, or building Bulgaria. He is going into the unusual minor nations of Eastern Europe here, which is so goddamn cool. I love it. I freaking love it, Lucas. This is really good. So, it's 20 order dice Bulgarians. 1250. 47. Platoon commander inexperienced. We've got infantry here, and the good thing about Bulgarians is that they have access to Panzerfausts. Now, Panzerfaust have gotten expensive, but they've also gotten a little bit better in some respects. I'm not sure what the submachine gun is doing there. 9-man units, they're big, chunky units. He's going to throw them up, isn't he? Even though they're regular, he's going to push with these units. Interesting. Again, Then we have backline holders here. These, Lucas, for me, these could easily be of a smaller size. So 5-man units with an LMG, if you can take them. I don't know if you can with Bulgarians. You may have limitations on the size. But backline holders with LMGs, they don't need to be huge. 6 men, 5 men, perfectly fine. Even 7, and you've got 9. AT rifles, yes, take as many as you can. Light mortars, yes, take as many as you can. And look, this is the way to build them. Just both Simon and Lucas here are doing the right things. Inexperienced light mortars, regular AT rifles. Heavy weapons platoon, inexperienced officer. Medium mortars, 1, 2 medium mortars. Both have got spotters, I think. Yep. Looks like it. Nice. So they can spot for each other. They could potentially, if you're breaking the rules a bit, even spot for the regular light mortars. For regular light mortars, but yours are inexperienced, right? That's so... I hate that. Regular anti-tank rifles, 2 of those, and artillery platoons. Oh, this is a gun line. A good gun line. So we've got AA guns. Look at this. This is the way you build the good artillery platoons in version 3. Double AA guns and a Nebelwerfer. That is it, boys. That is how you build a good artillery platoon. Because this means he can sit back. He can have his LMGs on ambush. He has some infantry he can push with. He has mortars where he can do indirect fire. He has Nebelwerfer where he can do indirect splash damage where it sort of affects an area. And then he just sits there with his LMGs and his autocannons on ambush waiting for the enemy to move out of the kill zone. Yeah, this is rough. And with the Bulgarian national special rules, oof. Suma is 35, which is not a great tank, but you know, Bulgarians, you can't get that much. So he takes these for the light AT gun, 145 points, 135. Way too expensive for what it delivers, but you haven't got much options, have you? Right, it's got reinforced front armor, which is a nice little bonus, so it's 9+ to the front. I don't think it's worth it, but it is a cheap way of getting 9+ tanks and 3 of those. Right. I like this list, Lucas. I like it a lot. This is a really good list. Right. That was it for me today. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you next video. Cheers.